You just gave me a killer. You just gave me a killer idea.
Yeah. Well, good. This is what I hope to do with this podcast is, get the juices flowing, get creativity happening.
Hey there, product marketers. Welcome to GTM Happy Hour, where I meet with experts from product to marketing, sales to success. Product marketing is evolving into go-to-market strategy leadership, and PMMs are having to find ways to connect with the cross-functional team members they need to lead go-to-market launches. I'm Jamie Walsh. I'm a product marketing and go-to-market advisor who's been in B2B SaaS for over 20 years. Over that time, I've had quite a few drinks with the experts that I admired, and it helped me grow to where I am today. I hope you enjoy the conversation. Today, I'm joined by Zach Messler, messaging master and bourbon enthusiast. We explore the intersection of personal experiences, professional insights, and particularly focusing on whiskey tasting, a memorable father-daughter trip to Kentucky, and more valuable lessons in B2B marketing. Zach shares his journey through corporate challenges, emphasizing the importance of doing the right thing and having the courage to lead. We wrap it up with effective messaging strategies, the significance of building genuine connections in business, and Zach's upcoming messaging program. Let's grab a drink. Zach, thank you so much. I've been looking forward to this all week. I'm going to and I bought something a little special. This is Kentucky bourbon barrel tart cherry wheat. So
That's awesome.
I know you love your bourbons and your ryes, and so I'm going to do this now. I will say this. Sometimes I'm a little taken aback by how these actually taste. So we'll get my live reaction right online. So what do you got there?
I love it.
What do you got?
And so I just picked up a bottle of the Michter's limited release toasted bourbon. I got this in Kentucky, actually. I went on a trip with my daughter earlier this summer to Kentucky, and Michter's was one of the places we went. And I always try and find the rare stuff. And man, I lucked out. I am literally opening the bottle.
Nice.
I don't know if you heard that.
I did. I heard the
Smells
squeak
delicious.
and everything. Yeah.
All right. Nice healthy pour. Cheers, my friend. Look at that color. Holy moly.
All right,
Look at that.
Cheers to you. That's beautiful. Beautiful amber. All right. Let's give it a
Smells
taste.
so good. Here we go. I want to see your face.
This one is not bad. I've had them where it's
All
like
right.
the bourbon flavor, which comes through, is just so overpowering in some of them that you can't even drink it. That tips it up to like 13% alcohol volume. We've witnessed this before. I think the last time you and myself and Stefan Stefan was on a call. I think I had something strong. And by the end of that call, I was I was done for. So,
That's
but
really funny.
I want to hear a little bit about this trip, and we won't spend a ton of time. But I was loved the daddy daughter bourbon trip tour. So
It was
tell me a
so
little bit about
special.
that.
It was so special. Yeah. So I don't know how happy my daughter would be with me telling this, but I'm going to tell it anyway. So back in February, my daughter it's the end of July when we're talking now. Back in February, my daughter was a senior in college and she was home on a break and she had a pretty awful health scare. So we were at the movies. She had some terrible, terrible abdominal pain and we ended up going home. Cut to the chase, what ended up happening is she had a massive tumor in her gut. She missed 2 months of school. She had an insane surgery, 11-hour surgery to get this tumor out. Fortunately, it was not cancer, thank goodness. But it was attached to different places, different organs. And so it was really difficult to get out. When she was recovering, she was in the ICU for a few days. And when she was recovering, my wife and I were talking about how it's always good to have something to look forward to. And so I had been toying with this idea of taking her on a trip to Kentucky. I love whiskey. I love American whiskey. And I've been to Kentucky and gone on distillery tours a few times. And so I wanted to take her. She turned 21 last summer. So we told her about that, and she was super excited. And this was that trip. Now, she ended up going back to school after the surgery, about a month or so after the surgery, which was pretty remarkable on its own. And then she graduated with a 4.0 for the semester, a
Nice.
summa cum laude with high honors on her honors thesis. Like, this kid she's amazing. She cold emailed her way into a job. She's just incredible. But anyway, so we went at the end of June, and it was just the two of us. And we drove because, I'm going to buy a lot of whiskey, and I did. And so we drove, and it was just a wonderful experience. We went to a bunch of distilleries. I have a guy who he owns his own tour company. And so he was awesome. He treated us really well, gave me a good price on things. And it was amazing. We went to this vintage whiskey bar where we sipped Maker's Mark from 1982 and dusty turkeys, as they're called, like old wild turkeys.
Yeah.
It was awesome. It was awesome. And the best part of it all was just we hung out. I mean, we really truly enjoyed each other's company, and it was really fun. And of course, I picked up bottles like this, which is silly. You don't find this. It's just awesome. It was awesome. It was a great trip.
Yeah. It sounded really cool. And I'm glad to hear that she's doing well. You and I, got to meet a couple months back, and you were telling me about this. And I think that it's great to hear that. But well, cool, man. And now, so the rest of the summer's a bummer now, right? Because it's all downhill from there. Like
No, you know why?
you led with that,
We
and
have
now she's,
we have all of this killer whiskey now.
yeah,
We were at Peerless, which is Peerless is not as well known, I don't think. I don't have one. I don't have one from I don't have one from Peerless from this trip up here, but I have one from the last time. I have very little left. So this is what Peerless looks like. This is a Peerless rye. So we went to Peerless and we did a tasting there, and they have a toasted rye that she loved. She's just like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. So I bought a bunch of bottles there, but I bought a bottle for her. And we're on the way home, and I was talking about Peerless because their stuff's really good. Their single barrel stuff, especially, which is what this is or almost was. And she just started talking again about how that rye was so good. And I said, well, I bought you a bottle. And she said, that's mine? Like, yeah, that's yours. Oh my gosh, thanks, Dad. So, you know,
yeah.
we do actually kind of sip whiskey sometimes as a family. And my son doesn't partake that much. He's too young. But we do. We'll sit on the deck and we'll chill out and be sipping whiskeys, and it's awesome.
That's really cool. Nice. I mean, so all right. So that leads me to the first question. All right. So tell me, you visited 10 different distilleries, and what did it tell you about B2B marketing? Right.
Well, it's so funny you say that. I did a post on this.
Yeah.
The wildest thing, so let me take a step back. So you know this because we've talked a lot and we've hung out actually. But so my jam is messaging and specifically message clarity. How do we get to the essence of our product? And then how do we connect it with the cares, the wants, the needs of that target audience? To get to the essence of something, you have to get to the core, that thing that makes it be itself. And so when you're able to do that, all joking aside, you can find those parallels where, okay, so what about your whiskey trip? Can we learn for B2B marketing? So we went to a place here, Bardstown Bourbon, the Bardstown Bourbon Company. They have a tasting room in Louisville, and we did the single barrel experience. And what the single barrel experience is, it's a guided tasting where you're tasting three separate expressions from three distinct barrels. And what was wild about that was the barrels that we tasted were the same age statement. They were the exact same mash bill, and they were pretty much in the exact same place in the warehouse. There was one right next to another, and then there was another one that was up and slightly to the right. It was wild how close they were, and they were all distinctly different. And so the parallel that we drew there was, or I drew there in this post, was you can't copy your competitor's messaging. It's not going to work. It's not going to fit because even if you use the same words, even if you copy it verbatim and use it on your site, if they have done the work and they understand the audience and they get the context of all of it, then there's stuff there that's just going to be different. It's kind of like these whiskey barrels because they're all the same. It was the same exact liquid going into these barrels, but maybe there was something slightly different about the toast on the barrel. Maybe there was something slightly different about one being here versus here or up top by a little bit. They were dramatically different. This one especially, this is the one that was up and to the right. You were able to name and get your bottle laser coded. So check out that one.
Nice.
The boom shakalaka. But it was an awesome that we started out with that on the Wednesday night. We got to Louisville on Wednesday, and that Wednesday night we kicked it off with this single barrel experience, and it was a great launch into that weekend, that really long weekend. It was fun. But yeah, you can't copy. You should not copy. You can, but you should not copy competitors' messaging, even if it's working great for them, especially if it's working great for them, because they've done the work that you haven't done.
Yeah. I like to tell people too, like, sometimes we get caught up in the product itself, right? The software itself and like what it does. And in a lot of cases, there's a lot of markets where the top 10 players in that space, like very, very little differentiation between them. But the the offer isn't just your product, right? It is a bunch of things. How you buy, how you deliver, there are certain things that you bring to the experience that just can't be replicated, especially when you're bringing your own unique point. Like, step away from the product a little bit and think about the end-to-end way that you deliver, and also think about, like, why did you build this? You had to build it for a reason, not to copy somebody else, right? Or maybe add some other nuances to it, but more importantly, like, have a goddamn point of view. Like, figure out
Oh, totally.
figure out what to
Exactly.
figure
Exactly.
out what
How are you ever going to be different? How are you ever going to stand out in the market if you're just copying what other people do?
right. And it's, sometimes that takes maybe a whiskey tour, right? To like get in a room and really, really like, have an experience together as a founding team or as a company, as a go-to-market team, to really think like, guys, we've got to figure out what it is we want to do differently. Let's find a hill that we're going to die on, and let's go after that. Let's make a big bet, because nobody wants to buy vanilla products anymore. They want to buy something that is unique for them.
You just gave me a killer. You just gave me a killer idea.
Yeah. Well, good. This is what I hope to do with this podcast is, get the juices flowing, get creativity happening, ask a little bit
I
of
already, it's awesome. So I already was planning for 2026 to do some sort of event in Kentucky with a tour, tie it into whiskey, the messaging mash
yes.
bill, that sort of thing. It's part of my brand. It fits really well. And what you just made me realize is maybe this isn't for individuals, maybe it's for specific companies.
Think that would be a great event. People sometimes think of like an in-house hackathon, right? To get new product developed. Maybe, you can incorporate this, and we'll cut this out if this is something you're going to have to work on and actually do. I don't want to steal any, I don't want anybody to steal your idea,
Yeah, yeah, whatever.
but they're not going to steal
Hey,
Zach's
here's
thing.
the thing that I realized. Here's the thing that I realized. If you're listening to this, steal away because I'm not you and you're not me. It's the same damn thing. I deliver the way I deliver on messaging, my whole process and method or whatever you want to call it. no one can replicate. You can't be me. And so steal away. It's all good. Everybody is unique. Everybody's going to bring something valuable to the table. So I'm always like, steal away. Come on.
Well, good. We'll talk more about how you might, gift somebody an idea or a framework or something that you find very useful, maybe a tool that you've used over and over again, a framework that you've used over and over again, that somebody watching this and listening to this can use for themselves, right? The whole point of this podcast is for me to like just, get to know things about people that I admire and that I want to have a drink with
Yeah.
and learn from. And hopefully other people are also watching this and, able to take something away. But by the way, if you do that thing, I will definitely be there. I would
Rock on.
definitely be
All
there.
right, cool.
But tell me, let's go dark. Tell me about something that you did whenever it was that was a complete flop. Everybody has things that they had to go through, bumps in the road that they had to go through to get to where they're at today. And it's always fun to sometimes look back and say, "Oh man, that was a fucking
Tell you
mess."
what, I tell you what, and this might not be what you expect. The thing that immediately jumps to mind is when I was in the corporate world, I was insanely fortunate because I impressed the right guy relatively early in my product marketing career. And then, and then I ended up actually, after I impressed him, I got hired to be on his team a few years later. And my first product launch with him, I kicked ass. And so he was the CMO. So I had the eye of the CMO. I'm a junior level product marketer. And all of a sudden, I'm getting all the opportunities. We get acquired. The company gets acquired by him. And he got laid off because they already had a CMO for 3M Health Information Systems. So he got laid off. What I found out at that point, and I didn't know this until that point, he lived about a mile, maybe mile and a half from me. And so I was helping him fix his resume because really product marketing is product marketing, whether the product is software licenses or you. And with your resume with LinkedIn, the product is you. So it's the same concepts positioning yourself. How do I message this? How do I talk about this in a way that's going to appeal to a target audience, to resonate with that audience, to pull that audience in? And I helped him with his resume. That helped him land a job at a really cool healthcare startup, health tech startup. And so he went, pulled me in, and I started product marketing at that company. Then that company was acquired by Philips Healthcare. It was wild. It was a wild ride. We did that at multiple companies where we'd build it up. The company would either get sold, go public, run out of money. One of those three things, sometimes more than one. The last place started running out of money. The founder, what happened was the founder lost the confidence of the board, and the board got rid of the founder, the CEO, founder CEO. They had taken on too much money, taken in too much money, too much investment, and he lost control of his business, and that was it. My guy, my boss, my mentor, was that founder's right hand guy. New CEO came in, was one of the board members. This guy was terrible and just toxic. And my boss became the whipping boy essentially, and he pushed him out. And then I became that. I'm like, oh geez, and it was terrible. So ran away. I didn't run to something and ran away from something. I landed at a company. It was my last stop on the corporate train. And I know this is a really long story, but
All the time in the world.
the first, the first, probably year or so, a little less than a year. First, let's say 9 months were awesome. I was hired as a senior level product marketer to really lay out product marketing for this company. They had never really done it before. They said they had it, they didn't. and I was hired to mature it, make it really work, build out a team, that sort of thing. The VP of marketing at that company was I knew from my days back at GE. I started my career at GE as a trade show manager in their e-commerce business
Up in Fairfield,
here. Here
down,
it was
down there.
yeah, it was in Rockville, Maryland. Yeah, GE Information Services. So I started there, and so this guy I knew from then, and back then he was I'd call him today like the traditional GE manager, which I say is a pejorative. That is a pejorative. That is not a nice thing to be called. And his whole philosophy was if you have an idea and it's a good idea, it's my idea. And if you have a bad idea, it's your fault. And and so what would happen was, I knew this. I knew this is what this guy was going to be, not because of my days back in GE, because those days I remembered him and we had a great relationship. And I was trade show guy, so you're hanging with people for long trips, and he was fun. But the first night or first time I went out, was invited to go to a dinner with an analyst, a Gartner analyst, and it was the VP of marketing, one of the founders, the VP of product, maybe a couple other people, high level people, and me. And I don't remember what I said. I don't remember what the analyst said, but the analyst said something and it made me think of something. And I was brand new and I didn't want to screw anything up. So I said something very quiet. Analyst didn't hear me. The VP of marketing sitting right next to me then said verbatim the exact thing that I said. And the analyst was like, oh, yes, that exactly. That is such a smart take. What did this guy do? He's just not. He's like, yeah, no, no, he did not say this guy. It was his. It was his. Oh, this is how it's going to be. So fast forward, and what started happening was I'm a senior level guy, and this guy is telling me he's a manager. He was a true taskmaster. You need to do this. You need to write more data sheets. You need to fix this pitch. It's not enough focused on us. You need to do this. You need, to the point where you need in my house became kind of a trigger. And I had always been, this is that mistake, right? So the mistake that I made for almost my entire career, and I could make it because I had a good mentor as a boss. I had an amazing, amazing mentor, amazing boss. I was a good corporate soldier. I did what I was told all the time. And if it was something I didn't agree with, I had a conversation with my boss and I pushed back. But at the end of the day, I felt like I had a choice. I'm either on board or I'm not. And if I'm not, I have a choice. I can either get on board or I can go find something else. So I would always get on board because that's what you did. That was the important thing to do if you're a part of a team. This guy was telling me to do things that I knew were wrong. He was telling me the messages that I had to train the sales team on, the messages I had to use in all of our materials, which was all the chest beaty crap. All the we're number one, Gartner has us rated tops. We work with 4 of the 5 top pharmaceutical companies. We're wee-weeing all over everybody. And and I hated it. I hated it because it doesn't work. It doesn't work, right? When you think of a buyer journey, you think of an actual path to purchase and how people buy. There are only about 5%. These are studies that have been done. There are only 5% of your market, maybe less, is actually in market right now for what you sell in B2B, especially in B2B tech. 5%. That means 95% of your total addressable market is not in market for what you're selling right now. If you go to market exclusively with a why us message, if you wee all over your prospects, then what's going to happen is nobody's going to give a shit. Nobody cares. No one cares about your product until they do. And when they do, great. Now why us is really important. Now, there's certain things you can do to position the why us while you're thinking about and talking about why they should make a change, not a change from one product to you, a change in how they're operating right now, a change in whatever it is that they're doing that you address, the problem that you solve. They may not be unaware they even have the problem you address. And if they're unaware they even have the problem, or it's not acute enough, where it's not painful, it's not worth the aggravation of switching something or changing something or navigating all of that change management that often comes with some big initiative. Well, then your why us message is noise at best. And if it's not, it's just downright annoying. So all that wee weeing all over everybody is not just a waste of time, it hurts your brand. And so I knew what I was being told was wrong, but I had enjoyed the company to that point. And when I went looking for a job because I was sick of it, I got all this gray hair. It was not quite as gray as it is now, but it was still gray. I started going gray early. And when this is the double-edged sword comment that I made before. When you have a mentor and you can get pulled along in your career, that's freaking awesome. The challenge with that is, even though I was always the right-hand person, I was doing board reporting. I was doing senior level stuff. I was on the executive leadership team. I did not have the title. If you have your whole career and you've never had a VP title, there comes a point where finding a job, I mean, this is just true. Finding a job that's going to pay you what you're worth is impossible. At least that's what I found. It was impossible. I'd be $50,000, $60,000 apart. This is like 10 years ago, maybe more. No, about 10 years ago. I was like 50, I was in my early 40s and I was 50, $60,000 apart. It was the golden handcuffs. I'm not leaving to go do the same job or more for $50,000, $60,000 less. I'm just not. I couldn't. And so I stayed. The biggest mistake that I ever made was being that good corporate soldier and not pushing back enough, not having the guts to push back because I never needed to do it. But then when I needed to do it, it was hard. But I did it. I did it. And I did it in a few ways. I mean, the thing really that helped me in those days, this is about 10 years ago. In fact, it's so funny. Last week, it was 10 years to the day of this story I'm about to tell you. First off, I was really into Tim Ferriss and I read the 4 Work Week. I've never read this whole book. I just read the first section. I just turned to it, The Comfort Challenge, right? So it's the first section of that book is all about finding comfort in discomfort. And the thing that I connected with the most was, what's the worst thing that could happen? Because the worst thing that could happen, if you think about it realistically, the worst thing that could happen usually isn't that bad in reality. In theory, it might be. In reality, it's not that bad. And the worst thing that could happen, 99.9% of the time, doesn't. Of course, sometimes shit happens. Sometimes really, really bad shit happens. We've had a lot of that, decent amount of that in my personal life in the last few years. But in reality, the odds of something truly terrible happening are minuscule. So what's the worst thing that can happen? If you identify what the worst thing that could happen is in a situation, this is Tim Ferriss talking, and then you plan out, okay, what would I do in this worst case scenario? Well, how would I react to this? What would my plan be? Now all of a sudden you have a plan. It's not so scary anymore. So what I did too is I made a worst case and a best case, because in marketing and also in any decision making, trust is your friend. What's the worst thing that could happen? Now, what's the best thing that could happen? And I just went hog wild. So this is that story. So back in 20, this was like early 2015, being yelled at all the time. I'm being told to do shit that isn't working. And then I'm being yelled at because the stuff that I was told to do wasn't working. And look, we could talk about yelling in the workplace and how terrible and ridiculous that is. Whatever. I was yelled at this last stop more than the rest of my career combined. I don't think it's that common a thing. Maybe it is, but it wasn't for me. So I used to keep a pad by my bed because I'd wake up in the middle of the night all stressed out and thinking about things, and then I couldn't fall back asleep. And I found that if I journaled and I wrote, I get it out of my head. It's not in my head anymore. So now I can go back to sleep. So I woke up. It was July 21st, so a little more than a week ago now, but July 21st, 2015. I woke up in a cold sweat. I was super stressed and I had an epiphany. I figured out the key to the universe and I went downstairs and I wrote it in my pad. And then I was like, you know what? It was kind of like, I'm going to date myself here, but it was kind of like my Jerry Maguire moment. I was like, I was like, I'm going to post this on LinkedIn. And so I did. I took it. I was like, I'll do it in the morning. And then I was like, if I wait till the morning, I'm going to chicken out. I'm doing it right now. It was like 2 or 3 in the morning. So I typed it all out and I posted it on LinkedIn. I'll shoot you a link. It's called The Key to the Universe. And what I said in it was, tonight I figured it out. The key to the universe in your life and your job. And I'm not sure I can do it. I'm not sure you can do it. I'm not sure I can do it. It's remarkably simple. And I think it's remarkably difficult. It's remarkably simple and it's remarkably difficult. And it comes down to two things, just two things. And those two things are: one, do the right thing. And the idea behind that is, in your job, in your life, if you have experience, you've been around a hot minute, and you have even just a modicum of ethics, you know what the right thing to do is in any given situation. And if you're not sure, you have a good feeling about what that probably is. So just do it. And then the second thing is, don't be afraid of anyone or anything. So essentially, don't be afraid of what happens when you do the right thing. And the key, again, to both of them is, to all of it, is they have to happen in tandem. You have to do them together. You know what the right thing to do is, but you're afraid of what might happen, then you're not going to necessarily do the right thing. So it fails. If you are not afraid of anyone or anything, you don't give a crap about what happens, but you don't have scruples, or you don't have the experience, or you truly do not know at all what the right thing is, and you keep choosing the wrong things. I can think of a bunch of people right now in the news that comes to mind. Then the key to the universe is going to be elusive for you. But if you have the guts to do the right thing, no matter what happens, doing the right thing is a great strategy. And this is what happened to me. So what I did was I posted that, and then I just decided to commit to living that way. And so I went into work and I just started doing what I knew was right. And I remember we had like a mid-year sales kickoff. And this was really my first test of it. I have a play I used to run. I call the sales pack. It's a messaging guide. That's really what it is. It's a messaging guide. It started out as the messaging guide that I would write for myself because I was in tech. I'm not technical. I needed to get to the essence of every feature, build it out, understand the product deeply. And so I'd write it for myself. The sales pack is based on the methodology of clarity, message clarity, where I talk about the clarity questions all the time. Clarity questions are 3 big rock questions that get to the heart of what it is that you sell and connect it with the cares, the wants, the needs of your target audience. And they are: what is it? This thing that we're selling, what is it? This feature of this product, what is it at its essence, at its core? What does it do? Not the 16 things that it does, the one thing that it does. And then why does it matter? Not why does it matter to us? Why does it matter to the people it should matter to? So when you can answer those the right way, and they're hard questions to answer the right way, when you can answer those the right way, you get to the essence of what you're selling, and it becomes remarkably simple to have a conversation about it, to create marketing materials about it, to create a pitch, to have connect it with the cares of a particular audience. So I used that as a play where I would launch it out as sales enablement, train the sales team on it, update it constantly whenever we had a new release. And that was my product training, essentially. Product and market training was all wrapped around the sales pack. I never called it the sales pack till I started using it to connect with sales. But once I did, every place I went and I ran that play, every place, It was a wild success. New reps would be ramped up in no time flat. Even with the most complex technology, they didn't have to be technical because I wasn't technical and I understood the product, and I'm teaching them how to understand the product at a deep level without having to understand all of the techno babble, techno mumbo jumbo. And so I got the approval to present the sales pack at sales kickoff. So I said, I got, how much time do I have? And he's like, you got one slide. Oh no, he said, you have one slide. I said, how much time do I have? He said, 5 minutes. Great. And then what I started doing was ignoring all requests for my materials. So I was insubordinate, frankly, and I just ignored. I didn't send anyone anything. They wanted to approve my stuff. They wanted to look at it before. Didn't do that. So the day of the event, I commandeer the clicker on the break when marketing is going to go on. And my boss is looking for the clicker. He knows, as the VP of marketing, he knows I have it. And he comes up to me. He's like, Zach, give me the clicker. No. He's like, give me the clicker. No, I'm not giving you the clicker. I need it for my presentation. I'm right after you. And I have a killer intro. I'm not giving you the clicker. And he is getting pissed. His face is getting red. Starts yelling, give me the motherfucking clicker. At this time, he's being announced. So he has a choice. He has to either go on stage or he has to continue fighting with me. So he decides to go on stage. I said to him as he's walking back, hey, you just tell me when to click. I will click. And I stayed zen, calm, everything. Again, do the right thing. Doesn't matter don't be afraid of what happens when you do the right thing. I was ready to quit already. So the worst thing that could happen in that situation was I get fired. Okay, I'm ready to quit. I have my launch plan. I have my plan for what I'm going to do if I am fired. I am good. There's insane power in that. So he has death by PowerPoint. He's sweating. He's nervous. He's getting over being pissed. And then it's the perfect foil for me. I get called up and I have music playing. It's Safe and Sound by Capital Cities, which if you don't know it is I can lift you up. Da-da-da-da-da. So the thing about this song is I'll have to get you a recording. Maybe you can pop it over our conversation. But the thing about this song is the beat is so awesome for dancing down the aisle. So everybody's looking for me up front. I'm in the back. And I start dancing as 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, ready, click, 1, 2, 4, 1, 2, ready, click. The clicks, all of these, what's on the screen in big, bold colors and just a few words are all the messages that this guy has told me you need to say this. So it's like, we're number one. Our product is the best. Gartner says we're great. All this stuff. It gets to the refrain in the song and the screen goes black and it says, big whoop. None of it matters. Next slide. Unless you have the right message. Unless you have the right message. So I get to the front and it's on my title screen now. And it says the right message, what to say and how to say it to attract more buyers and sell more stuff. I have every eye right here. I got them in the palm of my hand. I have a standing ovation before I've said a single word. And so I go on, I have a brief presentation on what the right message is, just essentially saying it's going to be different for this guy, Bob, who's the CIO of McDonald's. It's going to be different for Bob as it is going to be different for Kate, who's the CFO of Bank of America. They're ready to buy, they're not. And here's how to find it. Oh, and by the way, there's a new resource for you on the intranet. It's called a sales pack. Check it out. It tells you exactly what to say and how to say it so you can attract more buyers and so you can sell more stuff. Literal mic drop.
Mic drop.
Walking off the stage, the founder of the company, who is a super brilliant cerebral dude, is standing there. He's like, that was very good. And then the VP of sales and VP of sales and marketing were like this. He's a back slapper, slapping my back. That was great, my boy. What's my boss going to say? His boss and his colleague have just said how awesome this was. That was very good. And from that point on, the yelling started to stop. I had so many salespeople that were coming to me for support and help. And I was able to define what that help would be because I took a leadership position, because I did the gutsy thing. I did what I knew was right, and I wasn't afraid of what would happen. And what ended up happening is I stayed at that company another 2 or 3 years. I made amazing relationships with the salespeople at that company. Still have a lot of them, most of them really to this day. Made a lot of those salespeople and the company an absolute shit ton of money. We ended up taking the company public. It grew as a freaking rocket ship. Never, never got credit for any of it there. It was always fighting for credit, I felt like. But yeah, but it worked for me. Now, in the end, like I said, you have to have major guts. It's like big time guts to be a killer product marketer. And you have to be willing to walk or be willing to have the door shown to you. And that's what happened to me. I had the door shown to me eventually for doing the right thing. And it was fine because what it ended up doing was putting me on the path that I am today, working with founders and product marketers and teams on what to say and how to say it to attract more buyers and sell more stuff. If it weren't for that experience, I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing right now. I'd be an in-house product marketer.
Yeah, I mean, having the guts to be able to stand up um, and lead. That's what leadership is, right? Is just the two things you just said, right? Do the right thing and don't be afraid to do the right thing. I always tell people that I'm, leading or that I'm working with, like, listen, I'm not the guy to hire if you want somebody that's just going to do what you say to do, because I'm going to do my own research and I'm going to bring insights that, you may or may not agree with, and I may or may not be right, but at least we'll all be rooted in the truth of what we need to, move forward with. There's a proactive strategy that you need to get to, so that you're not reacting all the time. And most of the time, when you're reacting to one or two small deals that are happening, right? And they might be very consequential deals for sure. But I've told salespeople in the past, listen, I know what you're going through right now. I've been the salesperson myself. I know that this is really rough for you, but I can't distract myself from what needs to get done and the messaging and divert from that to focus on one deal. I need to focus on 100 deals.
Absolutely.
And right now, this is a distraction from 100 deals. And I need to either say no or say you need to prove that it's more valuable to the group than the 100 deals that we're looking to
So
work
that's a
towards.
great litmus test. That's a great litmus test. That's I used to do the same thing. If a salesperson would approach me for, I need a sales sheet, I need a slide on this, I need a competitive thing on this. I would always say the same thing, which is this something to myself, not to that salesperson? Is this something that can help everyone on the sales team, or is this just a one-off? If you always focus on the one-offs as a product marketer, as a sales enablement person, if you're always just focusing on the one-offs, you become the sales bitch. You do it once, you might be able to get out of it the second time. You do it twice, man, that's it. They're coming to you for one-offs constantly, and they'll tell all their friends. And now all of a sudden, you have 15 different things that you have to do that aren't moving the needle for you. They're not moving the needle for the company. They're on small little blippy things. So the best thing I ever did there, this is because I had that mentor who was just such a support. It was his idea, and I just executed it. He said, make a contract. So I wrote up a contract between me and the salesperson. And what I said was, I will write this data sheet for you for customer, this prospect. And in return, you are committing, you will close the deal because you told me that you need this to be able to close the deal. So you will close the deal. And what we're going to do is you're going to get my signature and my boss's signature. we're going to get your signature and your boss's signature, and then we're going to get the signature of the CEO of the company. And you and I now have a pact, and I will do this every time for you, but you have to sign that pact. Guess what? Guess what never got signed?
Never. I've done something slightly different, but along the same vein. I stood up a competitive enablement program with a very valuable member on my team. And one of the things we committed to is we can't focus on these one-off competitors that we see once every 2 or 3 years. But and what we do want to do is be part of the sales program for the right deal. So we put a threshold on it, like anything over K, for a 3 or 5 year contract. And somebody took me up on that, and she won the biggest deal ever at the company because we all worked together. We dropped a lot of things that we had in flight for this one deal. What it did though was it bought us a lot of credibility to really have an impact on what was going on in the team. I had since left the team. The very valuable member that I'm mentioning he has stayed on, and he's continued to grow that program and continue to repeat that cycle. It's like, every once in a while, there's going to be a very big deal in there. We're going to do is rally the troops. We even rallied partners to help us understand what we were up against, who were the main competitors, what were our strengths and weaknesses, what did we need to focus on. And one of the things that I will say to add to what you were doing was not just be proactive, but be a partner, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I'm the reactiveness and servitude does not work.
No, for
It
anybody, and
will never work.
it's a recipe for being miserable as a product marketer too.
And they treated us like true partners. And we said, hey, we've got a bunch of intel on the two people, the two companies that you're competing against in here. We know them very well. And we can bring a lot more things to the table. We can do deeper analysis, but we're also going to reach out to our partners and make sure that we get their, outside in perspective and have us, tell us the truth about what we do well and what we don't do well. And where do we think we should push, position our strengths. And it was a great deal. We thought we were going to lose that deal, and then after we rallied together and we gave the lead a presentation. Every one of the three competitors had a presentation to make, and we fed him every absolute gem that we could, and he killed it. He killed it, and yeah, it was a good feeling for us.
Yeah, and one of the best things that I ever did was start going on sales calls. And, when in my day as a product marketer, you didn't really have Zoom. We didn't do online meetings. I sound like a, a grizzled vet, but I would go on sales calls. I'd fly to Chicago with the salesperson, and I'd be there. And what I'd say too, I'd pitch it. And what I say is, I want to be there. I'm not going to say anything unless I am spoken to. If you want me to prepare something, I'm happy to. But I am there to observe. And what I share, I will share. What I share with you, feedback, I'm not going to share with anyone else. Like feedback on the presentation or whatever. However, the intel that I'm going to get from being there is immeasurable. And that I'm going to use in everything that I create for everyone else. And it was the best thing that I ever did. I mean, I remember I went to I went to a sales call, went on a sales call with this one sales guy who was really successful sales guy. And after this, I was not sure how. We had a sales call at Marriott here in Maryland, and with the CIO of Marriott. And um, we go in there, and he is doing the corporate deck like he has been told he has to do. And he is reading from his screen, and his head is like down here, like reading, and he's presenting the slides. And we had 45 minutes. 30 minutes in, the CIO, who had been looking at his watch, getting stuff down, you know, typing on a BlackBerry, gets up and leaves. I'm sorry, I gotta go. He just kept talking. he was unaware of the room. He was unaware of people are yawning, people are like fidgeting, doing other things, completely oblivious. It was wild to see that because he would never have gotten that feedback. I gave him that feedback. I said to him, dude, read the frickin' room. Like, you're losing deals before they even get out the door if your first meetings look like this.
Yeah.
And as I found out, what was happening was he was getting these cherry picked deals where he's going in right before they're ready to buy. So he didn't really have to do that much. But starting from the beginning, man, it was brutal. It was brutal. He was following what he was told to do. This goes back to the other list, following what he was told to do, and it was the wrong thing to do.
Zach, what do you got coming up? Anything in particular that you're working on that you're about to launch or something you're excited
I am
about
launching
being part of?
something. We're hopeful. Yeah, we're hopeful about it launching in November. I hired a product marketer to help me build out really my signature program, and we're building it out now. It's haven't decided on the name yet, but it's all about message clarity. It might be clarity rules. I might get a little more pain involved in that title, but it's really how I go about creating messaging. It's the clarity questions, the hierarchy of clarity, all the stuff that goes into creating a just insanely resonating message. That's what I'm building, and it'll be an asynchronous, a self-paced thing, and then after that, I'll probably start some sort of cohort based or community based thing on top of it. But we're building this first. Again, probably launching it sometime in November. But if anyone's interested, hit me at zach@zachmessler.com or on LinkedIn. I'm happy to share where we are, what we're doing, and see if it might be something that would interest you to jump in and try out as a beta.
Well, we'll be definitely putting all the links into the show notes so everybody will be able to get connected to you
Rock
and
on.
be able to see this before it happens. So thank you so much.
Yeah, rock on.
It
Then
was
the other thing too is I've gotten pretty regular with consistent with a newsletter. So I send a newsletter out every Sunday. There's always at least one tip in it on messaging, how to create something that's going to resonate, and that goes out every Sunday morning. And so that too, I'll send you. You can get to it from my webpage. You can get to it, zachmessler.com or from my LinkedIn. But yeah, it is for founders and product marketers who sell complex stuff and want to connect better with the target audience.
Well, thank you so much for joining me today, Zach. And look at this, I finished the whole thing and it was
I
delicious.
finished too. I still have a lot of the bottle though, so I didn't go too bad. Jamie, it's always great hanging with you and always great talking. It's fun chatting with other smart product marketers.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.